And we are live. Hey, 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 everybody. Let's do what we do best. Let's allow people to get a chance and an opportunity to get in the throne room. Let's get them in the throne room. I'm going to turn down my volume and then let's do it. Okay, okay, okay. Well, welcome everybody to the throne room. This is Beauty Shop Conversations. This is the space that we have created for us to be able to purge from our issues, heal from our wounds, and find rest so that we can transform into that which we have been called and created to become. And you all know what that is. That is royalty. My name is Monika Jackson. I am your host and the beautiful lady who is sitting right next to me, y'all. Y'all know who she is. She is Mother, my mama, Debra Ivory Chandler. Hey, Ma, how you doing?
Hey,
Greetings,
Mom.
greetings. I'm here. I'm waiting to delve into this topic, but always, as always, good to be here.
Yes. And below us, last but never least, she is my other mother, my spiritual mother, Miss Lady Marjorie Ford. How you doing, Lady Ford?
Fantastic.
She's doing fantastic, y'all. We en route. We doing this thing today.
Right.
We're
Let's
going to
do
do this today, y'all. So, welcome to our viewers. If this is your first time with us, we just want to thank you for taking the time to tune in with us. We, as always, this is an interactive space. We want you guys to like, share, but most of all, importantly, we want y'all to comment. We want y'all to share your thoughts with us. We want you guys to participate with us this evening. Shout out to our sister, our queen, Sister Melinda Blue Note. She was in the building this past week and she tore it down. If y'all go to my page, you will see her on the stage, her and Dirty Red doing their thing on the stage there at Lee Pitts Live after work. Shout out to you, Queen. Thank you, as always, for being a faithful listener to us. Well, y'all, we're going to get started. Are y'all ready for this topic?
I'm working
Saving.
my way through.
Yes. So I don't know about y'all, but this topic today is saving the world, losing me. Saving the world, losing me. I wrote a post the other day and I talked about having issues with self-reliance, that I was so used to always being either the helper or the go-to person, and that I always extended myself in spaces. There was an unbalance between the give and take in relationships, and oftentimes I never knew how to go out and ask for my own help when I needed it. So it set me up for, I don't know if that's such a good thing, because when I really need people, or I really need help with something, I don't know how to be able to ask for it. When I think about this, losing myself, trying to save the world, I think about how that so does not love me. It doesn't serve a purpose for me to be able to see myself well. What do you think about this? What does losing yourself, losing me mean, Mom? What does that mean to you?
Well, you know what? That part, the saving the world piece, came from this that honk for Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And the point that movie, that movie
Y'all.
was it spoke to a lot of things, that the parody of it all, some of it was a mockery, some of people think it's truths, telling truths about the church, but a lot of these shows that are coming on, religious shows, don't always show the church in the best light, and maybe that best, that what they're showing it in, it's a true light that it should be. but it's not as appealing. It's not appealing, obviously, because of how things have changed in church attendance, and where we have generations of people who have just left the church. But when we talk about this concept of saving the world, and that it was like all these things that we do, even Monika, from when you were talking about your post, um, we put ourselves out there because I think we feel a sense of purpose. We
Mhm.
we may say it's because of our passion, and we've been called to do these things, especially when we're involved in church ministry, as certain of our occupations. We have this innate desire. We just want to help people. We just want to do for people. But it gets to the place where we are so caught up in the doing, and it's like we're out. There's one side of us. We talked about this being this duplicitous person, whether operating in willful ignorance or versus is our self-deception, how we deceived ourselves as we look at ourselves and examine where we're finding ourselves. And when we walk away from these tasks, these good deeds, why we're not feeling as fulfilled as we thought
Mm.
we should feel, and how our lives don't behind the scenes don't mirror what we said we wanted to achieve in front of the cameras and the lights and the
Right.
people that we're doing all these good things for, that we've seemed to have set ourselves up because our families may be falling apart, our financial situations, my emotional state. I even think about it in the context of this being Suicide Prevention Month and our just coming out of Mental Wellness Month, where we might find ourselves in these states where life is so unfair. I've just been trying to do good, and all the hurt that I'm encountering as I'm trying to do good, and why things aren't working out. And then there's that other part that comes through, that I am a flawed individual, that I have my own, these proclivities and these things, these weaknesses, and my flesh, so to say, these
Right.
secret things that are about me that I'm trying to die. I'm trying to get those things to die. And I'm thinking about this losing myself, that if I'm not putting the time in and pulling myself back to be true to who I really am, to seek out who I really am, that I could find myself in a very unhealthy psychological, emotional, mental illness, physical illness,
Yeah.
financial deficits. I find myself in these places that I really did not expect would be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that when you talked about it, especially being Suicide Prevention Month, what was really important for me during this month is for us to recognize that a lot of our suffering is because we are looking for things that might bring us what we believe is what we think is self-love, like the things that we believe will make us happy, or the things that will meet the expectations of others' happiness so that we can exist and be accepted or feel this sense of belonging into a space. But I think that we oftentimes are really seeking for these things and these different spaces to belong to, with intentions of thinking that it's going to just take away all of our pain, like it will void out any of the things that we could possibly encounter that would really make us feel down about life. But that's not necessarily what happens. We oftentimes seek out the things that will oftentimes hurt us rather than actually build us up. And I think what's important about the topic for today is that as we're looking and we're doing things, saying we're doing these things to love on ourselves, we're actually harming ourselves. We're actually bringing more pain to ourselves. And for me, when I think about the movie, when you were talking about Honk for Jesus, which was it had a whole lot going on up in that movie. When I'm thinking about that, um, what was happening in there was people were doing things thinking that this is going to bring about something, whether it's a feeling of love, a sense of belonging, a sense of, I'm doing this purpose for my purpose. This is what I've been called to do, thinking that this would make them whole and complete and bring them to a place of, almost like really a place of healing, when in all actuality those things were actually the things that continued to lead to the detriment, or it was actually things that were not showing the love of self. What
But
do
you
you?
know what, the thing that brings to mind is that often we think this calling that we have, and that's this thing that's drawing us to purpose, and we
Mm,
see it initially as we can see it as a selfless act, that is a self,
mm,
we're sacrificing ourselves, we're dying to self in order to achieve this greater purpose. But when I'm thinking about this concept of losing ourselves in the process, and even as we process through thinking about that movie, the state that we find ourselves in, because initially this thing that we were trying to do, striving for, was a good thing.
right,
It wasn't, and it was about showing compassion and caring for other people. But there was also we're operating, understanding that we are operating from a place that's just like the place that the people we're trying to help in a large sense.
right,
And I know that might sound like that's crazy, because if I haven't heal, how can I heal? No, because we're working out of our deficits, and we're relying on a strength not our own. And I'm speaking from a Christian perspective, I know, because as and others may not be able to relate to what I'm saying, but there, when we talk about our spirit and we're being driven, something is driving us
hmm,
and something is pushing us on. But at the same time, there is still that person that has been wounded, and none of us are without our weaknesses and things and proclivities. There are
right,
those issues that we're not dealing with them, and thinking that we can embrace all of this help and throwing out all this love to everybody around us,
right.
and it will drown out the
All of the
all
pain,
that.
the emptiness, the loneliness, everything that we feel like, but then we end up being that person who's got a whole lot of people around us and still feeling lonely because we
Well, and
haven't dealt with
the very
ourselves.
people that we think we're helping, we actually end up hurting,
Hurting.
because they have looked at us in a certain way. And this is so true of church, and so many, and not just church, but leaders. People
Leadership.
have looked, and then we say they've fallen. Well, they really didn't fall. They've fallen for grace. They're in a state
The
of who they
state of who they
were.
were.
They're stewing, as I'm processing, they're stewing in the midst of and succumb, because they weren't dealing with themselves to the extent they needed to deal with themselves. Their weaknesses overcame them. We're not without weakness,
Right.
and we do have our flaws. And
Right.
so we have to recognize that it is important for us to do the self-care
Mm,
and to maintain a state of balance, so that we can achieve the peace. That
right.
means that we have to take the time and sometimes say no to certain situations and things. Even when the demand is
Maybe
pulling
great.
on us, we
Hmm.
have to take a step back and see who we are in the midst of it. That I could say yes because you're demanding and you're saying you need, and I'm like, oh, you need me, but then I have to be realistic about where I am, because I may not
Yeah.
be at a place where I can help you right now.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people really struggle with saying no, especially when they think that it's tied to opportunity. And oftentimes we think that if we say no, that we'll miss out, that, maybe this might be the very thing that I was waiting for. But I think that for me, and I have to say for me only, again, we don't come to this conversation believing we have all the answers or that we know it
No,
all. We're coming to this conversation just as it is a
to
conversation.
process thing,
Yes.
processing.
And we're hoping that you all who are listening will engage with us. And so I think that oftentimes we will say yes to things hoping that it will turn out to be the great thing that it should be, but we are so misaligned, or we're not in the right space. We haven't done the inner work so that the outcome could be the greater work. We oftentimes lose out on that, and we want to hide those things. Like
But
we
sometimes people press us into it. The
yeah.
expectations push us to a place where if I don't do this and if I don't function this way, even though I'm not, and then or we go, should I say this? I'm stepping out on faith.
The faith walk.
Yeah, and I'm trusting God. And so what is faith? The substance of things hoped for, because I'm hoping for this. And so then I will get the strength to do these things. But there's those warning signs
Right.
that we need to pay attention to. Um, Even in our wanting to, and our compassion sometimes, and get this one, Monika, our compassion sometimes could be contrary to what God is desiring for someone else and for us.
Mm, speak about that.
Because I can be it, loving people and not wanting to see people hurt and wanting to see people
Mhm.
delivered. I could be one, but I am not at the place right now. But my heart is longing for it. And so I feel like I'm pushing. I say,
Mhm.
well, we say like Paul, we're pressing towards the
Towards
mark.
the mark.
But that we're pressing on. I was thinking of that song. I'm pressing on the upward way. I'm pressing and I'm moving beyond. And there is some substance to that, but we
Right.
have to have a realistic assessment of where we are at the moment, and also where another is.
Right. Right.
Because another person, even though we are desirous of this thing and we feel compelled, it comes down to also connecting with individuals, recognizing appropriately the assignment.
Right. Well, I think that we misunderstand the assignment because we yet to really identify who we are. We can't understand the assignment when we really haven't understood who we are, the nature of who we are. And so we're constantly in this battle of what's my purpose? What's my purpose? What am I supposed to do here? I need to be doing something in these particular spaces, that we often miss out on what it is that we're supposed to be in the moment, right?
Good people, God people with good intention, God intentions, but that's not specifically what God is telling us to, calling us to.
Yeah. So our user, and I don't know why you're coming up as just a Facebook user, but Melinda says you can find yourself being an enabler of others or a disabler of self while driving toward what we're trying to do under the assumption that we're doing what's good. Yes, 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 and yes.
Well, we're saving another one from hurting because we don't want to. We can see where they're going to end up, especially those who are closer to us. We can see where
Hmm.
they're going to end up, and we don't want that for them. So we risk us.
So I'm gonna take the covers off on this, right? Because um, as mom, I've been in this really I had been in this really long-term relationship, and I just I thought that I could do everything that I could do to make it work, that I could be compassionate, I could speak life, I could, show up. Maybe if it was just something that I needed to do that could get this person to get on his A game. But in the end, it was like nothing ever worked. Nothing could make him see himself to the place that he needed to be. And then it came to mind one day, we were talking that maybe I couldn't give him the love that he needed. Maybe I was
Not
giving
you were
him
the problem.
right, that I was it. It was me. Like I loved him wrong, right? Like
There was a
I
quote, Monica, that I came across that said, "I lost myself in you,
yes.
and then I lost you."
Yes.
I lost myself in you, and then I lost you. And so
And
where was I? I didn't know who I
right.
was anymore. Every opportunity that was had presented itself for me, and the things that I should have been done to care for me and my own well-being, I have pushed all those things aside, poured it all in because I
But
misunderstood.
isn't that what we saw in the movie too? Like when we saw her standing outside holding this sign and she all out there and she like, "Ooh, I think I got what's going to help. I'm going to go get the black Jesus and roll him
And it
out
wasn't
there." Hold on.
enough.
And she endured and kept enduring and enduring. And like as I'm sitting here I'm thinking about, "Oh my goodness, how much did I endure to try to make
Missed
someone
opportunities.
right, love me because I love
Illnesses that you had brought upon yourself, not just
yes,
yourself, but others who may have been dependent upon you because you were pouring so much in and investing in these individuals. And not that they weren't needy, not that you weren't called to love them, not that the connection that was
yes,
made between you should not have been been a connection, but the connection may not have been what you were trying to make it be. And sometimes
yes,
what we do is we get ourselves caught up in something and then we try to make it work.
yeah.
And we already know, just like even the movie,
We
we
know,
already
we know, like
know.
we know in the pit of our stomach.
Willful ignorance, right?
That's why we turn and we look at them and we roll our eyes. We can't stand you, and they be like, "Why are you looking at me like that?" You know, deep down inside, you can't stand that.
But you continue on with it because you're trying to say, well, listen again, this is faith. God can change.
Mm,
But it's not, and it's not even about our changing because we're saying, like, I'm in this relationship and I'm having faith because I'm saying God brought us together. Because again, we're blaming it on God
mm-hmm.
and we're making it about God thing, like even in a ministry and a thing that
God
we're
wouldn't have
doing.
let this happen if it wasn't supposed to be.
Or don't give up. You got to stick to. You got to stick with it. Have
Yes,
faith and stick it out to the end. Even in our ministries, if we
till it
see
kills us.
till it kills us,
Mm,
we die. We think that we were doing things to save and do good. Think about how many churches have continued
mm,
on. I think about that. Things start to dwindle and die, and they die trying to hold on to that thing. And
mm.
I'm not just talking about a church, a ministry, and it may have served its purpose.
Shout out to my childhood girlfriend, hey Natasha, who says, yes, it's that ride or die. That ride or
And
die.
die more
And
than
most
likely.
right, most likely we gonna die. We gonna fall off that
And
bike
you know
and
what?
we dying head
And that's
first.
what happens because we start to feel less
Mm,
respect. We don't feel as good about ourselves anymore. We
mm-hmm,
start to hide some things. We start hiding
mm-hmm.
things because we don't want
Yeah,
people to
with
know how real it
secrets.
is,
Mm-hmm,
covering up some other stuff over here. Um, all these things are starting to fall apart, and they're signs for us. We
mm-hmm,
think it's detriment. We go into a place of numbness. We numb ourselves.
mm-hmm.
I think about
Yeah.
the book, The Body Keeps the Score, and how in
Mm,
survive we go into survival mode, trying to survive and hold on to stuff to hold ourselves together and never. And then
mm.
even when you get this one, we start playing victim.
Oh yes, easily.
We're not taking any accountability for the fact that we are doing things
Yeah.
even in our wanting an explanation, wanting one closure, and all of these things. Hold,
Melinda
hold on.
Melinda says he got you out here thinking you're a whole cat out here dying and redying constantly. Yeah, because guess what? He give you the moment. There are moments in time where you think that it's all good and that, oh, there's an inkling that it can
It's
actually
turning
be.
around.
It's turning
It's
around.
turning around. It's turning around. God is working out because I've been praying and I'm just having the faith in this thing that, or Monica gets bad. Either we're
Mhm.
thinking we're the victim or we're thinking something's wrong
Wrong with
with
us.
us.
Why
We haven't
couldn't
done
I? What
enough.
haven't I done? Why can I? What could I? We do all these questions. But I want to go back to this willful ignorance and our secrets, right? I think that that's an important space because a lot of women really do things like we hold secrets and we try to hold the secret because either one, we're ashamed, two, we're like you said, that faith. We're hoping and praying that whatever it is that we're going through, that is just that we're going to grow through it and we're actually going to improve in the process. In reality, it is we've put ourselves in this position knowing
And
that,
holding ourselves hostage.
yeah, yes, we put in ourselves that we're in our own prison.
Yes.
Why do we do that to ourselves, women? And then we say it's because we're compassionate and we're loving.
Yeah, because we don't want to. We hurt. We know they mean well, and I don't know. It's just we're making it about a man
Sometimes
and
they
woman.
do, it, but
If
this could
we're
be
making it about a male
anybody.
female relationship, it doesn't
Well,
have to be male female, and it can be ministries.
Ministries. Right. That's what I was going to say because this all really is about us watching this movie, Honk for Jesus, right? Like, I had to check myself because I'm like, hold on, we really wrecking ourselves in this process. Like,
And then and this willful ignorance piece, Monika. Remember that scene, and I know this is not X-rated, and I'm not trying to go there, but even from the point
what
of
of
the
sex?
bedroom scene, when you seeing some stuff that's going on, you already
Call it for what it
know this
is.
stuff ain't right. But we like, oh, I want to
Lady
please, you know what I mean?
fool. Yes.
But this is what's required of me because if my man wants this, and if I don't satisfy him, you go all of this stuff. When you already knowing in the back of your mind that there's a monster looming somewhere and there's an elephant in this room. I don't want to
Hmm.
talk about it. And I could be tied to a position. My It's like when we talk about our rules. I'm gonna say
She
my
here.
roles, even my role,
Yes.
ROLES. My role is killing me because I'm tied to
Yes.
the role and afraid to come out and say my truth. And
Yeah.
Lady Ford, I'm glad to see you back.
Yes. We was
I'm
waiting for
glad to
you.
see you back because even as we talk about this show, one of the things that stuck with me, where we went the way we went, it's going the way it's going, is because when you talked about your truth
Yeah.
and being true to you,
Hmm.
I mean, this getting lost in an inappropriate assignment. The assignment has been given to us. I think about the scripture. What is it? Is it First John 3:2?
The
I'm
folks
trying
don't
to
know what
remember
that
the
is, Mom.
scripture.
Tell them what it is.
I
Everybody don't know.
have to look at it because I haven't. I'm looking at the thing. I'm thinking about the scripture that talks about dying to self. Um,
Hmm.
there's another scripture that tells me about even this one. What profits a man to gain the whole world? Even in the sense of relationships and ministries and being successful in the eyes of men, and
Right.
even having this position in this relationship and lose yourself in the process.
Yeah.
That was Luke 9:24-25, because I do scripture.
There's something about
If you
the
try to hang
losing
on to your
process.
life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, you will save it. And what do you benefit if you gain the whole world, but you are yourself destroyed? The emphasis is on us. We think about the bigger ministry and all these people, but there's a deeper level to this ministry and having compassion. It's that personal relationship piece that means that you have to be in right standing. You, the individual, have to be in the right position and maintain the appropriate relationship so that you can hear and understand the assignment correctly and don't fly off on your own based upon what somebody else is telling you your assignment should be. And yes, they are a good teacher, they are a good preacher. It sounds good. The words of the song made you jump up and praise and shout all day long. But was that for you in this moment and situation that you're trying to apply?
Come on. So you just said you dropped a whole word, a whole bomb, a lot of heaviness. What I'm hearing is that there's a process to losing yourself, just as there's a process to loving yourself.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
if we aren't careful, we can misunderstand
Slippery
and
slope.
miss the two, right? And they can become twisted. But
That's a
that is
good word.
why,
Twist it. I like that.
yeah, yeah, I think that's why it's important to have accountability partners, right? And the accountability is really in our relationships and communities that we share in that will really give us that checkup from the neck up that will consistently and it's hard. That's why we want to hide everything
You
because
got to
we
commit to the right
already
beauty shop.
know. Right. But we already know. We feel that feeling of conviction when we're in the face of the things that we're in the face of. We get convicted. It kind of like, girl,
It's that
you shouldn't.
gnawing at us that it's not right, and you going along
Right.
even when things seem to be going right, it ain't going right because you
That's
still
why
make
every time y'all thinking, oh, this is a good day, we gonna have good, every time the day going in with something happening, cause you already know,
How
yeah,
how do you find that? I'm just saying, how do you find that accountability partner? Like you say, when your life one is
yeah.
you coming in from one place to another, finding yourself. How do you find that person that you can like really someone true to you?
That's a hard process,
that's a
see.
hard pastor. I
Right.
it,
That's why we doing this. This is that space that I'm open.
that's why I
Like, if
say
you
you're
didn't
looking for the
have
right beauty
none,
shop. You're looking for the right beauty shop
exactly.
because it's not somebody who's going to make you feel good, and sometimes you got to come out from among them
Mm,
Right.
because some of the people
Need
that you
need
thought
you.
were
Yeah.
this is like the home for Jesus, right?
Yeah.
she said sometimes you got to be your own accountability partner. Yeah,
And then
Natasha.
in the search, you know what I was thinking of, Natasha? I was thinking about as you said that, I was thinking the same thing because I thought about taking it to Jesus.
Talk in the
How it is like
mirror.
something you can't tell everybody.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
even when we say we have accountability partners, let's get real,
We
ladies.
don't tell everything.
That's why I have always learned that when people are coming to me and saying things and talking to me about their problems,
Hold it.
Monika, I'll say, I know there's a lot that I don't know.
Hmm.
A lot. You telling me this much, but there's that
There's a
much that
whole lot
you
more.
held to yourself, and rightfully
Hmm.
so, and rightfully so. You're holding it to yourself,
Yeah.
and so
right.
that's why when we hear messages, and as when we did the show, keepers, seekers, and
Yes.
keepers,
Yes.
that as we are seeking to be pleasing unto God, that we recognize our personal responsibility to speak truth. But
Right.
the
Mm,
people who receive it have to understand too that we're speaking the truth from our perspective because there are things that people don't know.
no.
And after you've gotten the God advice from them, from their perspective, because only you and God know. So now you go behind the scenes, which is why when you're taking advice, you have to filter that advice.
Yes.
That doesn't, you're not relieved from going to God in prayer and seeking truth on your own because He will give you a confirmation based upon the whole story because he knows it all.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't hide anything from him. And
Right.
because he knows it all, then he can add to and give you the deeper understanding. And then you step out on faith in that move based upon the truth, not based upon your shame or your avoidance.
Yeah. The other part of that, finding the right community, I think that when we are doing the work of looking inward and we're quote unquote trying our best, that God will send to us the people and the right places at the right time. I didn't know that I was going to meet you when I met you, Lady Ford, and things would be the way they are 3 years later. All I knew was that when I walked into the space that you were in, I felt that the spirit was there, and I then obeyed. And so I then began to do things that I had never done before. I also know that it it was confirmed in other spaces too. So if who we are connected to, what they bring us is to better us, and then those things that we are seeing and hearing in that relationship are confirmed in other
Yes,
spaces,
that's a good
then
point.
that's the relationship that we need to continue to have.
Yeah.
And it may not stay the same all the time.
No, it will
Because
grow.
and there may be different spaces for different aspects of your life,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and there may be people that you see today
You
in
won't
that
see
space
tomorrow.
that you don't see tomorrow.
Right.
And you don't hold people to that spot, because they, again, it's like that saying that they were talking about, people come into your life for a reason and a
And
season.
for a season.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for the sake of this movie and us talking about losing ourselves and the suicide prevention month and looking about us being able to connect to individuals and different support systems to help see us outside of our emptiness, our numbness, that gnawing feeling of what you say, mommy, that hollowness, and the place where we're just like, I give up, I don't have any answers, I don't know why I don't feel loved, or why do I feel incomplete? When I look at all of these things and I put them together, one of the biggest pieces that stick out to me is the fact that it's in my mindset. It is in my understanding of the process of my becoming that I can empower myself to know that there's more to a situation,
My
a
perspective.
circumstance,
Mhm.
yeah, than what is before us. And so I think that the faith needs to be in the fact that God can send anyone at any time or any place to help us change our mindset or our view of our circumstance.
Seeds being planted.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where we get the flag, the triggers come to us, like when we talk about truths reveal themselves to us. Because even if we had a conviction, and I may be set on that, it's harder to switch it. But when I start seeing stuff not working,
Yeah.
and I'm continuing to do it this way, and it's still not working, the change that I'm seeking is not coming. The response of the souls that I'm trying to save. Now, this is back to honk for Jesus. Think about this one too. And this is when you're doing all
We
these
trying to
things
save
and
souls,
wanting
really?
these numbers and wanting these numbers, and it's not there. And
Jesus.
it's not it. What was working one time is no longer working.
Mm.
Certain things that keep falling apart for me. Those are things that's God's trying to tell you something.
Come on, color
And it's
purple.
not to hurt, and it's not to hurt you. I know the plans I
I
have for
had for
you,
you.
not to hurt you. But we're seeing and feeling the hurt as if it was detrimental to us from a mental perspective and a psychological. We talk about this suicide prevention, and it gets us in a deeper and a deeper hole, because we cannot disconnect from the hurt. We cannot disconnect from the momentary pain, not
Mm.
recognizing that we have contributed to it, and that there may be something about us that needs to be changed.
Mm.
Something about us that needs to be dealt with, that needs to be addressed within on a deeper level, not to disconnect us from people, but to make us a greater source, a greater instrument to be used,
Mm.
to make our ministry even greater. If we take the opportunity and the time to allow the work to be done in us and through us.
Yeah. Lady Four, I'm gonna ask you about, because we didn't get a chance to ask you about your what does this losing yourself, what does this mean to you when we hear and we talk about the losing of self? What does that mean to you? You had a good word that you gave yesterday and you
I
talked
know.
about it.
Yes, I'm soaking everything. I think
Mm-hmm.
I'm soaking everything. Well, I go when I hear mom. I call her mother. When I hear mother speak, it like my mind just starts going just by hearing her talk. But in losing myself, I had to find myself in loving me. And when I lose myself, there was some things I didn't want to face, but I had to. I'm being honest. I'm still working on it.
We all are.
But
Mm, yep, we all.
I can say I'm better. Things are getting better. Me and losing myself, I I felt at a time in my life, like I felt that I had to be the right person, the one that got it, the one that know the answer, the one that you go right, and they probably need to go left, but if I say right is right. So I was like always like, but now I feel like I'm kind of released from all that. I
Mm,
don't have to be something that I'm not. A lot
Mhm.
of times I try to be something I was to fit in. And then when I start stepping in my real self, I'm like, oh, they might don't even, I'm still thinking about them. They're not gonna receive me if they
Yeah,
really
you
see
still.
me. So for long I put up this like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But like I said, as I go on through life, I'm becoming, as Michelle Obama said, I'm becoming. For me, it's an everyday journey. But I can tell you one thing: I have God has put a signet on me, and I
Mm.
realize that I have a signet on me. So it makes me run towards tomorrow, even though it gets
Mm.
hard. I know, like, girl, I know the plans I have for you. I know that now. I heard it then, but I know it now. So,
Mm.
I have good days, I have bad days, but yeah, it make me press on. So with all that, um, was saying I'm losing myself. I'm becoming who God really called me to be. I might still mess up. I might still um make mistakes, but you know, I just allow God to do what He needs to do in my life, and I'm learning that God will put people in your life, but because of people and I didn't think I was good enough, and He'll put them in your life, you'll be like, mm-mm. Remember what I
Mhm.
told you when I first met you?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, she all did that, and it wasn't even like that. But
No.
that was my mindset. That's what I was
Yeah.
around. So God had to get me from around the familiar. I was used to, so he took me out of my familiarity and put me in a situation or where I told y'all one time this lady invited me to a luncheon and I was the only color there and I was like, oh, I ain't got no
Mm.
middle up in here. I did. Oh,
I know.
and God, like, get up, put on you some clothes and go. If I
Right.
tell y'all not, like the Spirit of God hit my back, and I was sitting up in there like that. What's your name, Margie? But me, Margie, within myself, I wouldn't have never did that. But God
Right.
had to take me from me because I was used to going doing this and doing that. He was taking me somewhere. You bigger than that. You're greater than this. You belong here. And it's just me for me. It's just a journey for me. I'll be here all day, but it's just a journey for me. And I love finding myself. I love it. I love me so
Mm.
much. Oh,
I love to hear that. That
Yeah.
that is so encouraging, because so many times we can be and sit with ourselves and not like ourselves
Tear ourselves
because yeah,
down.
well, because we don't like who we're becoming in this process of trying to do. Let me cover trying to do good and be and show compassion and
yeah,
encompassing and embracing. We can get so lost in that process.
Yeah.
It's tiring because we feel guilty for
yeah.
even if
Oh,
sometimes our spirit be telling us like, "Oh, this is not right." I feel guilty for saying, "Oh no, I'm stepping away. I'm just gonna let this." It's like a guilt for like, "Well, you could have done this. You should have done that,"
yeah.
Mhm.
and so
Come
you get
on,
that
mother.
guilt of expectation from the expectation of the world around you. And even sometimes when we feel sad and understand, but I had to recognize that compassion is also walking away and be okay with that
Yeah,
Yeah.
because sometimes this stuff of trying to hold on and maintain control
Compassion for yourself.
is really our trying to is a God syndrome.
Yeah.
Our trying to assume the responsibilities and job that we were never supposed to assume in the first place, and in essence, what we end up doing is hindering somebody else's growth process and hurting ourselves. And
right.
so when we deal with when you say that, there is a positive side of losing yourself.
Oh,
That's back to that scripture in Luke when it talks about deny yourself. For you to come
yeah.
after
Yeah.
me, the ones who
Come on,
call to
mother.
ministry, your ministers, to deny yourself.
Come on, mother.
Okay, take up your cross, which means it is not going to be an easy process.
Heavy, heavy,
Turn
baby.
away from all the stuff that has
Mm,
been demanded and required of you and do it a different way. We get so caught up and we become the Pharisees.
That's good.
That we got to do it this way. This one got to do it. This one didn't dress right. This one don't look right. This one's supposed to be over here. You're supposed to do this job. This is your task. Whatever you find your hand to do, this is what you're supposed to be doing. We're putting these laws and these rules and these regulations even on ourselves. And you're supposed to show up like this in your role. As this, you're supposed to do that. And you should be this to this one and that one that. It makes you crazy.
Crazy.
The expectations that have been placed on you because your heart ain't feeling it. Now I know it says I have this mind being you, which was also in Christ
In
Jesus.
me, Jesus, right?
I understand that I'm called to become more and more like him, but like him means I am being submitted to the Spirit of God, submitted to the direction and guidance of what God is calling me to do, which means I have to configure be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, because a lot of the stuff that I thought was right is really what's keeping me in bondage.
My God.
God didn't tell me to do it. You told me to do it in order to look like what you and perform the way you think I should be performing. And I'm accepting it because I want to look like this. I want to be up in the church. I want the attention. I want people to think I'm a good. I want you to see me as good. I want you to see me as holy, so I'm going to keep my hat on, even though when I go home, can't nobody stand me.
Jesus.
But I'm going to try to show up like this. God is trying to work with me. He's turning the people away from the church. He's exposing little things about me. And somebody said, you got a bad attitude, and I didn't want to hear it, but I should have been hearing it because that could have been God. I say it's the enemy. It ain't the enemy. It's God trying to get you because he says you are his son.
He loves you. That's the love.
He's trying to call you, honey, this ain't the way. This ain't the relationship.
This
ain't your ministry. This ain't your job. This ain't your responsibility. He's trying to get you to see who he called you. Because the end says that I don't know who I shall be, who I am. I know I'm a son of God, but I don't know what I shall be. But I know that I'm supposed to be like him. And so I had to start rethinking didn't he get angry? Didn't he say no to some stuff and kick over some tables? He didn't do everything.
Yes, he did. And I turned up like my Jesus, okay? All day. Let's keep it real. I will.
He told the church, the Pharisees that, no, that ain't. He told his disciples, get behind me, Satan. He wasn't friendly with everybody, didn't like him.
That's right.
And
it's okay.
And he didn't want to do the stuff that God told him to do. He prayed, please take this away. He didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it. But he knew he stayed in relationship so that he could hear.
Right.
In the moment and not take something and run with it. See, that's what we want to do. We want to take a word somebody gave us and run with it.
Run with it.
But that word is only to take it to the point of hearing from God. God, what did you say about this? What did you say about this thing? What did you say about that? So that we can become all he called us to be.
Yeah.
Losing ourselves, denying ourselves can be a good thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Losing ourselves. Maybe that's what we need to do. We too full of ourselves.
Yeah, that was something that I wanted to say.
And my greatness.
Come on.
Yeah.
Read, mother.
Yeah.
All right.
No, well, you're speaking truth. I think that what you were saying was so true. It is the fact that we do need to lose ourselves. In fact, Lady Ford, you were saying that you were trying to find you, right? But we're remembering who we are. And I have to constantly go back to that space that I'm not trying to find anything. I'm trying to remember who I am, that God dwells within me, and I was created good. I don't care what nobody thinks.
From the movie when it said he was saying, there ain't no perfect man. God created.
God
didn't create any perfect man. He created a perfect man. The man had a will and he chose to fall.
That's a whole teaching. That's a teaching right there. That's a teaching.
It's on you to connect and reconnect. And because of that fall, we're in a process of reconnecting. So we have no excuse and can't say, well, I'm Lord. I'm just a whatever.
Which is why we should not. And I hate to make it seem like this is about religion, because this is not about religion. This is about having a relationship with you. And when you
Yeah.
learn to have a relationship with you, you are learning to have the relationship with the divine who has created you, because
Yes.
God does not exist apart from you. And we oftentimes get that confused. We think that God is on the outside looking down at us and like saying, I'm going to punish you. Like God is our punisher, when God is only wanting to love us. And we
And wanting
become
us
our
to love
own.
us.
Yes, we become our own punishers because we're looking for ourselves to be validated by other people and outward things that have nothing to do with what God has purposed us for.
Yeah.
We got to check ourselves again before we wreck ourselves. But the losing ourselves may not be as bad as we think it is.
Opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, opportunity. Oh yeah.
Lady Ford, when you lost a part of this thought process that you only understood yourself through the eyes of a person in this way, or you only understood it from a perspective of an old school way of thinking, or you just listened and did what you were told, when you let go of that thought process, you lost a part of you, but that was freeing. That's liberation.
Yeah, it really was.
I
Um,
can't I can never forget the day that Lady Ford stood up and said in front of that whole entire church and said, y'all used to, but who y'all got today? Okay? That
hey,
is a
go ahead.
y'all used to me, my past and all them people. So Natasha, all y'all who know me from Jersey and back in the day, hood gang, all of that stuff, y'all used to know me. That's all grand, mighty, and good. But who I am today, as I've been on my journey in the process
Yes.
of my becoming and
Being
my
grounded
losing
and rooted.
myself, right? I being able to find myself, and I'm still finding myself.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
and
learn new things about myself every day. I
amen.
told mommy this morning, I said, Ma, you be so proud of me. I told Jackie yesterday, y'all be so proud of me. I ain't even go off on the girl at work. I just, by the time she finished saying what she was saying, all I could have is compassion. And you know what? The compassion was from a place of, I could understand where she was coming from in her frustration. God can allow you to hear things that you would have never normally been able to hear because you've
Yes.
been able to come
Yes.
outside of your mess.
Yeah,
Of what your fixed mindset of what should be and what
Yes.
you deserved and what's how somebody else should be responding to you. Instead, you have that relationship that's what that relationship with God is about. Instead of you responding to them, you respond to what God. It's like when we say, "I love you," and you can't do nothing about it.
yeah,
It's because that love that a person does is not that because they earned it. It's because you were called to that, called to love, called to reach out, called in that instance. God told me that God is telling me that I should do this because I'm not feeling comfortable sitting here and not. So I'm going to
Mm,
go to the luncheon. I'm going to go because the me don't want to do it, but I'm listening to the spirit. I'm feeling and I'm in tune with myself enough to know that when I begin to feel this way, there's something more that I need to get. I need to move. That's what you said.
mm.
I feel this pressure, this calling, this pulling, and this tugging, like Jeremiah. It's like fire.
uh,
Shut up in my
I can't
bones.
not do it. I don't want to do it, but I can't not do it because there's the spirit within me is pushing me forward in this direction, and so I continue with that. And I'm at peace because see that's the key. There's that peace that you start to feel when you move in that way.
yeah,
There's a different sense of peace that you feel. Otherwise, you feel a heaviness in the word and burden. Like sometimes though, it's like I could preach a message and saying, "Oh, who are you to preach this message? Who are you to be doing this?" And then
oh,
I'm
oh,
empowered in the moment, and then I step back after it's done, and the enemy starts speaking in my ear. But then I have to quiet and hush that voice because I know I wasn't doing it because I wanted to.
right, right,
but I was called to do that and empowered, not just called. This is the thing, empowered to
Power.
do it. That's that passion and our way out. It's like, how do we get out of when we're losing ourselves? There's always a way back. There's always a way back. And that's when we start to listen.
Right.
And like you said, to love on myself, Lady Ford.
Mm-hmm.
I started to love me. And the more I saw myself moving in that way, the more peace I became. And I knew that it was right. That's where the confirmation, not confirmation from men, but confirmation from God.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love me some me.
It in I got they call me, but in that when you were saying that me loving myself, I found out for years. I've been in church. I've been in church since I've been 14. So they talked about God, but I always looked at God was like way up there, and I was here. And then I didn't know like he was right here with me all the time. Cause they always like put him like he's in the sky, but I'm talking about his when I connected to him, like I didn't see him just up there. He was right there with me, like the son say, all the time. He was affirming me even when I didn't even see it. Like he never left me. Even when I was going through what I was going through, he was right there. And then I got to understand everything I went through was necessary to get me where I was. I couldn't see it then because I seen him from this way. But when he became this way, then like my understanding was enlightened. Like I be walking around the house and like, oh God, that's what you
I
meant.
know them, right?
Like, oh Jesus. I'm like, I should have been know that, but like it probably wasn't the timing. I
Revelation
Right.
comes.
set, like Brother Paul say, the set time. It was a
Right.
set time. And so it's for me, becoming myself, it's like a triple effect. It's like I knew stuff, but like God is bringing it alive. It was just on paper, but it's like a light go boosh. Like every time he bring a revelation, I be like, you knew that already, but I didn't know. It wasn't life to me. So when him and the word started becoming life to me, it changed my whole outlook of who I was. I ain't perfect. I'm, what I say, I might don't have a degree, but it's okay. But maybe
That
God
don't
put
make
me
me.
around somebody to say, hey, Margie, this is the way you do it.
Mhm.
I got to be willing to accept that.
That's
He's
right.
giving me an
Yes.
opportunity. But
Yes.
see, I used to get offended because I say, oh, she thinks she better than me. But now I say, God say,
Let's
it's
see
okay.
God.
Yes. He sent this for me.
Yes. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Jesus. I ain't have to experience going to school for 4 years. That you send me somebody at a snap of a
Yes.
moment.
Yes.
He like, I put people in your life for a reason. But because you stand familiar, people come here, bring people in your life to show you that they got a motive. Like, girl, a lady came to me and she said, Pastor Margie, I don't want nothing from you. She said, God put me in your life just for you. I'm like,
Like, what you want? What you got behind your sleeve? You trying to
right.
kill me?
But then when I begin to open myself and begin to talk, like some things I put on Facebook and stuff, she'll write me and she say, now, you did good today, but you need to look up. She said, you're looking down too much. I could have tucked that like, well, you look down too, but back in the day, I would have said that. But now I have found Jesus here and not here. So
Oh,
when
that's
people come to
good.
my life, and it's okay for me to say I don't know.
Right.
It don't make me
Yes.
stupid. It don't make me dumb.
It
I mean, it's
empowers
God
you.
that manifested Himself in me, and
Right.
I think that's where the liberation comes. We still working on y'all. I ain't gonna like
All of us.
Mm.
but he is so I can't understand like Pastor Ford say I'm different. He say you the change.
You're supposed
Like,
to.
Yes.
Come on.
You're
You're
growing.
supposed to.
6 8 years.
Oh, I'm telling
Growth is
you.
the upward movement.
But and I just throw this out here. Um, there is a thing that a traditional thing that has been passed down, and I alluded to before when we talk about do whatever your hands find to do.
Yeah.
Mm.
That when you talked about the relationship of God up here and me
Mhm.
down here, is because we are so caught up in doing the work of the church, doing ministry, that
Mm.
we neglect to develop that necessary relationship where we can hear from God. And so God really have nothing to do with a lot of the stuff that we're ended up doing. It's the good looking
The
stuff, the
focus is
stuff that
on the
people are used
mission.
to doing, stuff to get numbers and people in and make people shout and make people cry. And we can pray for people and do all these things and feed them. And we can do all these things, but that's not out of the relation. The real relationship with God has been stunted because of a
Right.
lot of the theatrics. I have to even say, even
The
our praise and
spirituals.
worship, even our praise and worship, even our
Yeah.
praise and worship, because we like the music in the club anyway. So now, and we like to dance in the house parties anyway. So now we got it in here, and we can hold and clap back and and jump around and dance. We
Different.
Because we feel comfortable with that, because for us culturally, that's something we're accustomed to. But we have to make sure the relationship.
The intent.
Yes, that relationship is important, because that's where we get our leading and our guidance from. Not because somebody told us we were supposed to be this in this position, then one day they spoke over our lives that we're supposed to do that, and we're moving forward on the base of a word that they said, but not the word.
The confirmation
Jesus
of
said,
what
Jesus
God
said,
gives
I am the
us.
way. He said he's the word. The word became flesh and be
Mm.
dwelt among us. So we have to function on the basis of the word, a living word, not a stale word that came, which is new and evolving and moving every day, every moment, every second. It's not stale and stagnant. It's living and alive. He
Yeah.
speaks to us. We like to speak about the word, and I read my Bible and all that. But I think we need to really get into touch with that third person of the Trinity. He's
Right.
alive. He's alive and well. She's alive and well
You'll
within
have
you.
to teach a class on that one,
Uh-uh.
mother.
I was thinking when we go to Atlanta, we're gonna make her a little thing and we're gonna be outside the center.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. She already got it together. All she needs to do is just tell
We
me
just
that
gonna
she
say
right.
we gonna
We
hold it
waiting
up
for her to do it. But it's well and good. I really hope that the listeners today really understand that we are all in this journey together, and we all are wanting to see each of us win. And Beauty Shop
Yeah.
is about us being able to sit down in our respective
Truth.
seats and do the truth telling work and to work on
And our
ourselves so
nappy
that we may
edges.
see all of this transform. We want to see you all beautiful. We want to see you beautiful. And God has the ability, again, I don't know where you come from and what your walk of life, your belief mindset is, but I can only speak my truth. That the only way I could have gotten from where I was to where I am is that I had to have a full understanding of
Yeah.
who God is in me, in my
Yeah.
life for me, and that
For me.
I am loved despite me not loving myself,
Yeah.
right? And so we want to see you transformed, and we're hoping that these conversations lift you up and give you a hope and inspire you and encourage you and push you to be the best you that you can be. We're not saying that we might be the ones who got all of the tools, materials, and certifications to do
Just
your
planting the
hair.
seed.
Just hard.
That's right.
We just inviting you to the beauty shop, and we encourage you that wherever you are, that you connect with the space that might be able to continue helping you pursue this journey of remembering and loving you.
Mhm.
Well, we will see everybody next week right here in the throne room for barbershop conversations. Ned and the fellas will be in the room at 5 p.m. We also have the Aspire to Hire show with Mommy and myself tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the Win Win Women TV network. Please tune in if you have time for that. But until next time, we love y'all. We appreciate you guys. And we can't wait to see you back in the beauty shop. Everybody have a wonderful evening.